Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another episode of This Week in Kyrix. This is Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021, recording for Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. You might realize, if you are a longtime viewer, that I typically record these, at least in 2021, on Monday. And yet, here I am Tuesday. And there is a reason for that. Basically, yesterday was a hectic fucking mess. But I'll get into that in a couple minutes. We're going to lead this off with some good news, because there really isn't a lot of that this week. I finally, as of Monday, got the girls to the vet. So, 4 cats and a puppy dog all went up to PetSmart in Banfield to get their checkups. And everything went pretty well. Even Oreo, who's normally an absolute goblin, managed to behave herself long enough to get examined without needing to be sedated. That being said, enough of her shitheadness resurfaced when it came time to pick her up that it literally took them 20 minutes to get her into a carrier to bring out to us. But didn't have to pay to have her sedated. Got most of their medication. I was on a budget. I'll get into that in a minute. All their flea pills are here, and the 2 that showed tapeworms, that would be Willow and Oreo, have medication for that. As soon as I get a little more money, I will get the medication for the other 3. So my girls will, in fact, get their tapeworm treatments. That is a priority. Because I'm pretty sure they have it. But problem is the testing shows up intermittently. So even if all 5 of them have it, not all of them will show it. You know what I mean? General gist of it is that they all have irritation from fleas. Maya's a little chubby, and that's about it, really. I even consulted them on how much food I'm feeding them. The puppy will be getting... The dog will be getting about 1/4 cup less of food. She's going down from a cup of food a day to 3/4 cup. And the cats are staying as they are. That's the good news. That's literally all of the good news. Well, there's a little more good news. There is a current Pokemon event going on where you can, and I'm taking this off my ear, where you can get a shiny Toxtricity for Pokemon Sword and Shield by going to GameStop using the Pokemon Pass app. There are 2 ways to do this. One has an in-store QR code that you can redeem for 3 codes. The other one is curbside, and they take curbside very liberally. I was literally inside the PetSmart on the other side of Largo Mall from the GameStop and able to redeem this. So, curbside apparently means within 3 blocks of a GameStop. And that's for 3 codes. Now, the plan was to try and redeem both and get 6 codes, but both my GameStop and the PetSmart GameStop didn't have the indoor display. Well, because I needed Robert to take me up there anyway, and there happens to be a GameStop with the pets, I'm like, hey, could you download this app and give me your codes so that I can give them out to people? I want to point out that there is no compensation at all in this transaction where I'm giving out the codes. Of course, Robert's not asking for anything either. It's literally, I go on a Facebook group, say, hey, do you need a code? Yes, here is your code. You know, first come, first serve until I run out of codes. I'm not asking for any trades. I'm not asking for any money. Originally, I was going to redeem them myself and trade them, and then I'm like, wait a second. That's a pain in the ass for me, and I could just straight up give them the code, you know. So, they literally owe me nothing except, you know, I messenger them with their code. That's literally all it is. Because this stems from back when I was in League. I have easier access to GameStop than a lot of people, and that includes outside of Florida. Some people just don't live near a GameStop. One of my friend's sister, who I actually gifted a copy of Shield to, because she only had Sword, and I wanted her to have the set, and I also gave her the money for the expansions, because, you know, I knew that a lot of people were out of work during the pandemic, and I didn't know what their financial situation is, but I know for non-gamers, it can be very hard for a gamer to explain why you need a second copy of a game you already own, and why you need expansions for both of them. especially when you're in a budget crunch. And I happen to have come into about $3,000 that month, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend this on dumb shit. Let me spend it on dumb shit for a friend, you know. But she doesn't really have ready access to a GameStop, so I basically said, hey, I've redeemed 2 that I don't need. I will trade you one of them just for whatever, you know. And I'm saving those direct trades for friends of mine, people I know personally. No, that's right, she's got her own. I just remembered another friend who might need one, and I'm like, no, wait, she's got access to GameStop. So I happened to go back to the Walmart that I worked at, because I needed to find lotion for the roommate, and I completely forgot until I got to that Walmart that lotion doesn't go in the HBA section, which is where shampoo and whatnot is, which is what I was looking at. It goes in the cosmetics section. And it wasn't until I was at the store seeing these familiar aisles that part of my brain clicked. Hey, lotion goes in cosmetics. So I walked over to cosmetics, there it fucking was. Big long-ass trip, didn't need to be made, you know? It's just the fucking joys of being me. And I swung by electronics because I have a friend who works there. And she and I was talking, and I gave her the update on that and mentioned that. It's like, could I just give you my login info and have you pick it up and just give me the codes? So that's what I was going to do. Well, the GameStop we went to also didn't have the indoor. Apparently we're back to cards, and I managed to get 1 card for me, 1 for Robert. So those are the 2 codes that I owe her. I have her 3 codes to distribute. I have Robert's 3 codes to distribute, so that's 6 codes, and I already gave away 3 of them in this thing. I'm going to be calling GameStop later today to see if my local one has the cards, because they're usually good about giving me a stack, and it's not like I'm in League anymore. I don't necessarily need like 50 of them. And I have been given like 40-something cards, but like a dozen or so, if I could get away with it, would not be frowned upon, you know. But it's also not worth my while to bike or bust my ass up there for 2 fucking cards, you know what I mean? Because that is like a 45-minute trip, and that's a one-way trip. So I'm looking at like an hour and a half out of my day, whether I bike or bus, and that's just not worth taking at that point, you know. So, especially if they don't even have the cards, because I might bike up there just to find out it's the same shit I've been using, and that's no good for anybody. So, yeah, I've been doing Pokemon distributions. They have a new Pikachu giveaway for the 25th anniversary that knows Sing. That's really it. It's just a Pikachu, it knows Sing, no big deal. It knows a move it normally cannot outside of this single event. And I have, I believe, 4 of them, because I have 2 accounts, one that is my personal account, one that is my Let's Play account, and I have 2 copies of the game, 1 sword, 1 shield. Between that, I have 4 accounts. So, 4 downloads, you know, no big deal. 1 for myself, obviously, and 3 in case somebody decides they need a singing Pikachu in their life. Personally, I'm not super big on all the Pikachus. I have them all. But, I mean, there's only so many things you can do with this one fucking Pokemon. Especially since you can never evolve it. And I don't think the hat-wearing Pikachus can Gigantamax. So, it really limits your ability to use them. But hey, some people like to collect this shit. Some people just want it. And maybe when League starts up, I'm going to find that person who Pikachu is their favorite thing in the world, and it would just absolutely make their day if they had a Pikachu that could sing, you know? Because you never know. Everybody has one favorite, you know? Every Pokemon is someone's favorite. And I say that honestly. Henri's favorite, for a long time at least, is Dunsparce, of all things, you know? Everybody, my cousin thinks Torkoal's adorable. I don't see it, but hey, whatever, you know. Everybody loves something. And Pikachu is very popular. He's a little overrated. He's very overrated, but fuck it. If that's your jam, that's your jam. I'm not going to get in your way. Worst case scenario, I've got 50 electric rats of varying unique properties that just, yeah. The one perk about it is I have so many of the damn things that if someone wants one, all they gotta do is ask, you know? I'm referring to the hat Pikachus in this case, not the singing ones. I only have 3 spares of those. So, I'm slowly backtracking from the good shit down to the bad shit, if you haven't noticed, because I'm really trying to avoid it. Because it's kind of stressing me out. I've mentioned this before. I don't really stress. I do not... Things that would drive a normal person absolutely fucking batshit crazy just don't faze me at all, because I have this mindset 9 times out of 10 where I can't change it, I'm not going to worry about it. It just is the way things are, and I got to live with it, you know? So, as a result, I can cope with stressful situations that would just completely crush normal people. The problem is, because I just breeze through stressful situations, I don't really have any coping mechanism for it if it does get to me. And this is one of those times where it gets to me, so when something actually does get under my skin, it fucking buys property there. But we're going to get to that towards the end. And honestly, knowing me, I might procrastinate to the point where I don't even have time to talk about it at all. Next on the list of things that have happened this week, I am in a Star Trek Attack Wing League right now. I am due for 4 battles, and as of now, I have had 2 of them. First one, I won rather handily. I mean, it was just a complete curb stomp. I still had to work for it. I mean, there was no point where it's just like, oh, you won this thing. But in hindsight, I won in the second round. We played all the way down to the last 12 minutes of an hour-long match, but I won in the second round. And in this one we actually saved a stream of, so... a couple bad maneuvers on my part fucked me, and losing my big heavy hitter ship in the second round fucked me as well. But even though I lost rather decisively, if you look at the points, 18 to 100, 18 being my point value, 100 being his, I comported myself very well to the point where in the second round, which is generally the first round of actual combat, you can fight in the first round, but it requires a very specific build that no one really bothered with. But in the second round, it literally took my opponent the better part of 10 to 15 minutes, probably closer to 10, but multiple minutes, to decide how he wanted to move, because my placement was such that if he fucked this up, it would cost him the game, and he knew it. And he outplayed me. It's just that simple. He fucking outplayed me. And I gave as good as I got, because that was, in that first round, was where the first 2 kills happened. He took out the Scimitar, I took out his Science Vessel, which the Science Vessel had done most of its work. Mostly its job was to choose one ship to remove all defense dice from. That would be the thing that cripples my thing, but it's a once per game power he can use, and he did. The first game I played, by the way, had that same trick, but I was maneuvered in such a way that he wasn't close enough to use it when his turn came up, but when my turn came up, I was right in his face and hit him for 7 dice and took him out. And the other function is the captain, Dinatra. If she is within 1 target space, not 1 movement space, but 1 target space of a friendly ship, that ship gets +1 attack dice. So she makes all her ships hit harder. And the Science Vessel itself had the ability to repair hull or shields of other ships. So taking it out, even though it couldn't do anything offensively, its support value was immeasurable. And taking it out in the second round really helped, because I'd have been boned without it. And eventually I did lose, because my opponent was able to maneuver in a way that took out my ship's advantage. Basically, if you can aux me or bump me and prevent me from doing my action, you cut my defense down quite a bit and cripple my offense as well. And he managed to do that 2 or 3 turns in a row until his actual shooting ship could get a line on me, and with sustained fire it was just done. There was nothing I could do. And I think that took us down to about 12 to 15 minutes as well. So it was a very close match. And honestly, if I could have If I hadn't bumped that turn, I think I would have won, because I would have been able to use my battle stations to ensure the hit on his Oberth, which is what bumped me. And without that thing to tie me down and make me bump, he could not have mustered the firepower it would have taken to beat me. So. But luck wasn't on my side, and it was a very luck-based build. And like I even told him when I was down to just the NX, that even though on paper the NX is perfectly capable of winning the game on its own, I have never come back from a situation where I was down to only the NX as my primary fighter and won. It's never happened. And today was no exception. And maybe that got into my head a little bit and made me fuck up. I don't think it did, but I'm not willing to rule it out as a possibility. So I am currently 1-1. 118 points, 2 matches in, out of a possible 400. So that's not horrible. It's not great, but I didn't get shut out. So that was something that happened today. I recently have been playing Dead by Daylight with groups, because there's this guy, I think he was one of the killers, and I messaged him, and he, you know, like, probably, I say he sounds like a kid, but probably in like the teenage range of kid. It's not like he's 8 years old or something, but he's definitely, you know, late middle school, early high school from the sounds of it. And he and his friends have invited me to a couple games to just play. And we're talking custom games where basically you have all the perks unlocked, all the items, so you can build whatever build you want to build of any characters you have. You don't get access to characters you don't own, but you get access to the perks of those characters. So, I had a little fun. I got to play my main Michael Myers build, and just, there's something magical about hearing the people get snuck up on by Michael Myers. It's truly beautiful, and I'm pretty sure I gave one of them a heart attack. And I feel bad on the surface, but it was so fun. That being said, I actually had to do a Michael Myers thing for a daily yesterday. It's like, oh, as Michael Myers, or as the Shape, because they don't call them by their names, they call them by their title, the Shape, Michael Myers. As the Shape, level up Evil Within 4 times. Well, I don't really do Evil Within with him. I actually play him handicapped, heavily handicapped, by keeping him at tier 1 with no terror radius, because I just like playing him without them knowing where I am at any time. So I played this game, and I wasn't really playing to win. I mean, I was making an attempt, but not a serious attempt. Like, I went into this match thinking, okay, I'm not killing a lot of people, because I don't play him well at the upper tiers. And as I'm playing, one of these people get off the hook, and I see him, and just completely on a fucking whim, there was no reason for it all. I'm like, you know what? No, you're going on the hook. I'm dead hooking your ass right now. And I chased him down, stab, boom, up on the hook, dead. 1 kill. And that was the only kill I got the game. I got multiple hooks off people. Almost every time I got to tier 3, I managed to catch someone and hook them. So I got a lot of hooks out of it. Maybe like 5 or 6. No, maybe it was like 6 or 7. I don't think I got quite half the possible hooks, but I got quite a few, so 5 or 6 sounds about right. And then they popped the last gen, because I wasn't pressuring the generators the way I should. So I walk over, I hit the switch, I walk over to the other door, basically to encourage them to go to the open door. Because at this point, I'm not even trying. You know, I've decided, okay, I'm not winning this. I don't have it in me, because by then I'd stalked most of the power out of them, so I'm not going to get to tier 3 again. I'm not going to land 2 hits before one of them gets out of door. But I see one of the guys walking around. I don't know if he was doing it to taunt me, if he was offering up as a free kill, or what. But I basically stood where he could see me and just looked at him until he wandered his ass back to the door. And because the person I killed was a PlayStation player, as opposed to a cross-platform, I could actually contact him, and I did, and I said, hey, sorry about that, I was actually just going for the daily, and just completely on a whim decided to dead hook your ass. And like, oh, it's okay, it's cool. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thank you, have fun, you know. Because you do get survivors that get real pissy, especially if they get tunneled, and I'm not gonna lie, when I did that dead hook, I tunneled their ass. I just completely on a whim. And there was no reason. I keep emphasizing it was on a whim because it was. It's not like they were a big threat to me because I wasn't going to win. It's not like they were holding a key or a flashlight or something that would just annoy me as a player because, again, I wasn't trying to win. They weren't being toxic. None of them were. None of them were teabagging me. None of them were flashlight clicking. None of that shit. You know, I just decided for no goddamn reason I wanted a kill and it was going to be this person. You know. And because I just, for whatever reason, aggressively pursued their ass, when I could have gone after someone else and hooked them, and then caught them later, because I had enough time. We were only like 2 gens down at this point. We still had half a game to go. But for whatever reason, I just decided it, and I felt the need to tell them, hey, I didn't mean to be a dick, because I fucking hooked your ass. But I felt the need to explain that. But anyway, so that's that stuff. Dead by Daylight. Star Trek. Attack Wing. Star Trek Online is actually going to be starting some new events soon. They are finishing up the Red Alert cycle, which is where I've been... I think it was just... The Red Alert events, such as they are, they're pretty simple. They're just a good way to get dilithium for the most part. It's like, hey, do 5 or 10 Red Alert events, you know, 1 a day. And you get some upgrade coupons and shit that you may or may not use. And then after that, you get dilithium. The red alerts are real easy. It's not like an STO where it could take like 20 minutes or so. This is just, hey, take out a couple enemies. You're in and out. There's no like startup screen where it's like, oh, here's the storyline. It's just, oh look, Borg, kill them. You know, you kill a couple Borg. The boss warps in. You do that, fucking 5 minutes, and you're done. You know, it's nothing out of your day. I think the actual ice racing from the December event takes longer than a Red Alert, especially the Borg Red Alert. And then, of course, the faster you get it done, the more you get to dilithium and build that shit up. There's going to be doing a new event, which gets you, I think, a Miradorn Raider or some shit? I'm probably getting that wrong. It's some kind of Raider ship. There's also going to be apparently a big Klingon event, which I correctly guessed was linked to a new mechanic they've got coming out. But the Klingon thing is just, hey, here's a whole bunch of shit you could get. The event that I was speaking of is if you can get a Klingon, not a Romulan affiliated with Klingons, not a Dominion affiliated with Klingons, a Klingon character to level 65, the max in the game, then for your account you will unlock the ability to fly any ship you want, that you own, obviously. And I honestly don't like that. I'm going to make use of it, mostly for consoles and shit, because I have the Federation flagship, that is the Odyssey. I have the Romulan flagship, the Scimitar. Once I get the Klingon flagship, I'll have all the flagship modules to basically get special effects. But I don't like it. It just kind of makes it pointless to play the Klingons or the Federation when you could just play, oh, here's my Federation captain in a Klingon bird of prey, and that's just how I'm gonna do shit, you know? Like, that was my big complaint when the Romulans were added, that the Romulans aren't Romulans, they're just Federation or Klingon characters that have access to Romulan ships and look like Romulans, you know? I mean, let's be honest, if you're playing a Romulan, you're not going to take a Federation or Klingon ship. But the fact that you can kind of irks the shit out of me. They should have had their own story, you know, but they don't. I mean, they do to an extent, but they really don't. And apparently there's going to be like a 4-part event that, when done, is going to permanently, for your account, unlock 1 Tier 6 ship, either from the special packs or from the lock boxes. And I've got a couple ideas about what one I want. The Borg Juggernaut is a big one, because I unlocked that. Borg Juggernaut has this really cool module weapon that will fucking one-shot a cube. It is amazing to see this fucker in action. So that, just to get that, is pretty cool. There's a couple other ships that come to mind. Not a lot. There's like 3 or 4, I think, that caught my eye. So it won't be a hard decision to make. But yeah, that's the main thing. The thing that irks me is some of those 4 things, as their grand prize seemed to be some stuff that I already have. Like the first one is like, oh, get Molor's flaming sword. I'm like, yeah, didn't I get that 2 events ago? So for all I know, because it mentioned something about legacy, for all I know, it's rerunning old events and just linking them together. And if that's the case, it may flat out start me off with, hey, you already have this sword, you don't need it again, just earn dilithium. And believe me, I would love 30 days of just escalating dilithium prizes. Because by the end of that, I'm probably going to be earning like 100 grand a day or some shit. And yes, you can only refine 8 grand of it at a time, but it's more the case of having it. Especially since I have a lifetime account. So if for whatever reason I decide not to log on for like 5 days in a row, it will refine for me 8 grand a day as long as I have more to refine until such time as I come back. So if I miss 5 days, I'll come back to 40,000 refined dilithium, which is really cool. Okay, so one more thing, and then I have to get on with the badge. Well, 2 more things. The Blackout Club. I mentioned that I was playing the Forest with a person on the Blackout Club. We've been making a lot of progress. It's mostly she and I will play like 2 or 3 times a week. We try and set it up, but she has other stuff going on. Plus, she has occasional issues with anxiety, and I have friends like that. So I'm not gonna push. Sometimes you just don't have it in you. Sometimes I just don't have it in me, and I generally don't grapple with that kind of shit. So as someone who does, I'm not gonna fucking twist your arm about it. If you can play, cool. If not, we'll get to it later. One of the reasons that I host the game is something she actually specifically suggested is that way, if I want to, I can get on when she's not on and do stuff. Although she did ask, hey, don't do story shit. Well, joke's on her. I really am completely content to just do crafting and shit. So generally what I'll do is I'll make 1 or 2 small things, and I will just stockpile resources. Like, she came back and suddenly we had 11 log holders that are full of goddamn logs, because I just decided to cut down a forest, Or hey, here's some stick holders full of sticks, here's a bone holder, here's rock holders full of rocks, etc. Because that's just what I do, so I'll just log in at random and just stockpile resources. But anyway, I mentioned her, but this one's about the Blackout Club itself. Every week or so, usually on the weekend, they will hold, I think it's like EH is what she called it, I don't know what it stands for, but basically, dev interaction with the players, and generally they keep track of like, oh, this character's had an interaction, this character's had an interaction. One of the reasons for grouping with me is because I'm a noob who hadn't had one yet. It makes us more likely to get one. Plus, if we have a bigger group, more people, etc. So we had an interaction. I was having issues with my microphone, not necessarily the mic itself, but apparently these events cause issues in the game hardware. So sometimes it happens, so I wasn't able to interact much, but I was mentioned by name, character name that is, like Kyrix, they referred to me. So it was fun. There were parts of it I didn't get to see because I was kind of being chased at the time. But it's a really cool experience to have them actively interacting with you in the game. Okay. Oh, fuck. I have to talk about this. Okay. So, y'all are probably by now aware that I am currently receiving unemployment checks. On a 2-week cycle, every 2 weeks I go and apply for the next one, get the money, etc. The day before I was scheduled to do this, I, on a whim, checked my emails. Because every now and then, I'll check the emails now that I'm doing this, because stuff comes up, and I happen to see a thing from the Department of Economic Opportunities saying, your account's locked because we suspect identity theft. Now, when I see something like that, my first response is this a scam? So rather than even click that link, I tried to log in to their main thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. Try to log into the thing where I request the check, and sure enough, it's locked. So I check the email, see what it wants me to do. It suggested a particular website. I look at the website. I look into the website. It is, in fact, legitimate. Go through all the steps to get verified. That should be that. That's not that. I end up not... Something went wrong. Everything on my end happened the way it was supposed to happen. I did all the things I was supposed to do. But for whatever reason, unemployment never got the memo. So I was locked out of that account. And I still am, a week later. Now, I could log on in like a couple hours when they open and find that, hey, it's been resolved, everything's all sunshine and rainbows. I don't think that's the case. I think I'm going to have to talk to my senators, because this is kind of a problem. You cannot contact them by phone. I've tried. And I've had people, oh, why don't you call every 20 minutes or so? I do. I've done it. I've literally spent a half hour of just dial, listen, it hangs up, redial, listen, hang up, redial, listen, hang up. It's like, oh, all our lines are busy, we can't do callback, click. No option to hold, no option to leave a voicemail so that they can fix the problem on their own. Obviously no option for callback, and then I call the other number and it just directs me right back to that one. So it's just kind of a clusterfuck. The good news is I'm not utterly boned. I'm massively inconvenienced, though. But because the stimulus is due to come out this month, and I just, as of yesterday, filled out my tax return, and I'm due to get my taxes this month, the roommate is basically spotting me, and I'll pay him back when I get it, so I still have access to what I would have access to, but it's a colossal pain in the ass, because I have to go through someone else to do something that should just be in my fucking bank account. There's no excuse for this bullshit. I mean, yeah, there's an excuse that they locked me down because they suspect someone was in my account. That's perfectly fair. I would want them to do that. What I wouldn't want them to do is keep me locked out for a goddamn week after I promptly did what they told me to do. That's where the problem comes in. And that's the source of my stress. Because I have at least a 2-week window, up to a month, I believe, to get this check and then the next one. Because I think it'll store up to 2 checks at a time, where I could just backtrack and get that check. So it's not that I'm on a mega time crunch. I basically have until April to redeem this check. But the fact that I can't get it... I should have had this money Thursday. Okay? It's now Tuesday. I should have had this Thursday. And that's problematic. If I'd had this money today, then I would have gotten all the girls' tapeworm medication today. I would have gotten antibiotics for Willow because she's having issues with fleas, you know. I would have paid for the little Benadryl shot so that they were guaranteed not to have a vaccine reaction. Not that I thought they would, because they never have before. But, you know, I would have taken those precautionary things. I would have gotten all the medication, but I was on somebody else's dime, and the card I was given didn't really have the money to cover it, so it's irksome. It's just highly fucking irksome. And this is one of those things that at the moment I can't really do much about, but at the same time, everything hinges on getting this. Because I have the money to make it to April, but once April rolls around, things become troublesome again. And I don't want to fucking deal with that at all. But it is what it is. The good news is my tax return is actually pretty close to what it was last time. I think it's down by like $150 or so. It's still over $1,000, like a couple dollars over $1,000. It's basically $1,000. No reduction from the payroll tax getting fucked with because Walmart didn't adjust my taxes at all. It kept them where they're supposed to be. I didn't lose money for the stimulus like some people did, because Robert specifically said he knows a guy whose tax return was only $20, whereas I lucked out and got everything. Meanwhile, he said he and his wife lost about $800 on theirs compared to last year. So I lucked out. Maybe it's a Walmart thing. I don't know. So that is enough to at least make up for this first check. Stimulus will cover the other shit. I'm good. I'm going to be okay. Plus Thursday I'll get my food stamps in, and I'll be able to feed myself. Right now, I'm kind of subsisting on Hot Pockets and mozzarella sticks, which isn't a bad thing, it's just not very filling. But it's tasty-ish. Yeah. On a lighter note, let's scale back up and try and end this on a positive note. I have been making more use of Dropbox, which is, I bought a Dropbox account for reasons. Originally, it was just I was going to upload a couple things to send to other people. Right now, it's functioning as another secondary hard drive where I'm storing Let's Plays that I haven't really had time to work on yet. And Dropbox now has a feature where it'll store them on my computer as files, or as icons, but I can cloud them so that I'll have the icon and I can interact with it, but it will exist on Dropbox itself on the internet. So I can basically move a bunch of my really big-ass files over there, cloud them up. They'll take several hours to transfer, and then they just like, oh, we're in the cloud now. We'll delete the actual data off of this, keep the icon so you can access it and download it if you need it, etc. But the end result being that I was able to get like 200 gigabytes of stuff from Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and Neverwinter Nights off of the PlayStation and into the computer and then up to Dropbox, which also freed up about 200 gigabytes of the computer's data because I had a lot of shit stored there too. And those will basically go until such time as I'm willing to adjust them, convert the files and whatnot. God, it's hot in here. I fucking hate when the roommate, because it drives me nuts. What he does is he's like, oh, I'm going to turn the vent on. He either doesn't understand or doesn't care that the vent doesn't do shit for my room and that my room stockpiles heat, okay? Between the electronics, myself, and 5 very warm-blooded animals, my room will quickly jump to 80 degrees and the rest of the house is like 74. And when the AC's on, the house will keep me fairly regulated. But when he turns on the attic fan and just sucks air into the house, unless my door is open, and it never is, I get none of that. And so, 9 times out of 10, my room's hot as balls. I actually have a window unit AC, but it's broken. Because the cats have stood on it for so long that the grate's wrecked. I think it's out of whatever cooling units that it used to have. Roommates talked about getting a new one. I kind of hope he does. That would be wonderful for me, because then I could have my own AC on in the summertime and whatnot. Because when I have the wall unit, between my air conditioner in the wall and my personal heater, my room can be whatever temperature I want it to be. Like right now, it's 80 degrees even though I have my heater off because it's just fucking hot in here. You know. But like if the rest of the house is like 68, I can pump my room back up to what I need it to be to keep me warm. And with the AC on, when my room's 80 degrees, I can turn it on for 20 minutes. Like, oh, it's 74 again. Yay. You know. But right now, that's not the case. I don't know what caused it, but I just got the urge, and I'm watching Shin Godzilla. I'm probably going to jump back to it as soon as I'm done recording this and possibly uploading it. I'm really fucking tired right now. It's catching up to me again. What happened was yesterday, I knew me and Robert had to go up to the vet before 11 o'clock, which meant I got up at 9, tried to call him, didn't work, set an alarm to wake me up at 9:45. Turns out my call did wake him up, but he had it on vibrate and he went thinking it was his alarm, saw my name, and it got him up. And then he texted me at like 9:30, like, hey, I'm going, and I woke up and saw it at 9:45. And then, so I didn't sleep much, because I started sleeping at like 6 o'clock. I got like 3 hours of sleep, maybe 4. So we did the vet thing, you know, came back here, dropped me off. I had basically told him, you know, because I was originally going to have him bring me over there. I'm like, don't bother with it, you know, I got shit that I got to take care of, because a couple other things came up, and he missed that part of the conversation, and he was back right as I was about to start my Star Trek League match, because we had a hell of a time lining up days to actually play. You know, this thing started like 3 weeks ago. This is my second of 4 games. And I basically told him, hey, I've got this window, I gotta do it. And then we went to his house and filled out my taxes, and then we went to go get the pets and all this. And I was planning to just stay home and like do their litter boxes and get a bunch of shit done for them so that when they came home they were just good, and I didn't have the time to do that because we went to his house. And then we came home and I remembered, oh yeah, I haven't slept at all. So I basically got all the pets situated. We're all exhausted. They're always wiped after the vet, to the point where only Willow is the only one in the car who can even muster the strength to meow. They're just totally fucking done. And Willow talked to us the whole way home, but the other girls were completely silent. And so I came home, laid down, went to sleep, woke up at like midnight. And by the way, we got home at like 7 or 8. So I slept 4 or 5 hours. Woke up at midnight, fed the girls, and now I'm doing this. It's like 6 in the morning and I'm tired again. I want to actually get some sleep. But I gotta kind of play this out now. I got 11 minutes to kill. Not much else going on. I played a little bit of Civ 6. I've been working a very little bit on Pokemon, getting my stuff. Getting a lot of shinies, actually, because Pokemon Home can now receive stuff from Pokemon Go, and I had my friend link his Pokemon Go account to my Pokemon Home. The initial mindset being that when you send something to Pokemon Home, you get a thing that will just allow you to get Meltans. It's just a little box. You can do it every 3 days. Open it up, Meltan spawn for like a half hour so you can catch Meltans. And he and his wife used to come over and send stuff to my Let's Go Eevee game for that reason, but now they could just do it from home. Just kind of boop, boop, boop. Hey, I sent you something, clear out the box. Hey, I sent you something, clear out the box, kind of thing. Well, in this particular case, I told him, he managed to tell me, or what happened was there was a community day where lots of Pokemon spawn of a certain type in that day, and there's a high chance they'll be shiny. I basically said, hey, there's Machop this time. If you get 3 extra shinies, can I have them? Well, he had 4, and he sent them to me. And since then, he's been telling me, hey, I've got all these shinies stockpiled. Let me just hook you up with all these shinies, because he found out that I got a good trade, that I was able to trade one of those Machops for a Charmander and a Magikarp. So he's like, here, have these. You could trade the extras. So he's got a backlog. He's got like 15 shiny Magmars to give me, and every community day he catches extras and sends those to me as well. So I've been going on Facebook on this Pokemon group and saying, hey, I have these shinies if you're willing to trade me shinies for them, you know. I traded, I think it was an Abra and a Magikarp for an Electabuzz and a Nidorino, so that was cool. Yeah, it's been alright. I don't currently have much incentive to actively play the game yet, because I don't really have anyone to play against. That's the thing with Pokemon, is when you're not actively training for an event or to face a person, there's not a huge amount of incentive to do the battling and such, to do the actual raising. And that level of stagnation is just a killer. Oh, on the Pokemon news, in addition to Pokemon Snap, we now have announced there's this Pokemon Legends game, starting with Arceus, and we're getting the Gen 4 remakes. Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl, or Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond. One of the two. It's Shining and Brilliant Diamond and Pearl. I'm sure at some point I'll learn the order. I don't much care. I am rather famously not a fan of the Sinnoh games. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And I'm not I'm not greeting these like, oh, I can't believe they did these. I wasn't super entranced at the idea of them doing the Sinnoh remakes, but I knew they were next. The next remake would be Sinnoh. Because the first remake was Kanto, the second remake was Johto, the third remake was Hoenn. Then they technically made another Kanto remake, the Let's Go games. And eventually they're just going to get to Sinnoh by process of elimination. And they have. And I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. I really, honestly, truly have tried to like Sinnoh. I have. I have tried to play it several times myself as a blind Let's Play. Didn't ever get anywhere with it. I don't like the game. I tried reading Chirokajo's text Let's Play, and his stuff is highly entertaining, his Pokemon stuff, because there's a mix of the actual game itself, cute artwork, funny story, and Pokemon backstory. These guys really fucking know their shit on Pokemon. Like, they'll go deep and like, oh, this was inspired by this. This is this. Hey, you can only catch this here on this day if you're wearing this color socks, etc. You know, there's a lot of shit to unpack there. It's very informative and entertaining, and I couldn't get through his fucking Let's Play of it. And I even tried watching Team 4 Star's Nuzlocke of the game and just fucking lost steam. I just stopped watching and never started again and never had the drive to. You know? And part of it's because they had Empoleon, and I do not like Piplup at all. There is so much about Sinnoh that I just don't like. Like, I don't like most of the Pokemon. I find them rather bland. Barry is hands down, if not the worst rival, in the top fucking 3. Like, everything about him is horrible. The starters aren't great. They're not horrible, but they're not great either. I think the best one is probably Chimchar. And, yeah. I could not tell you more than 3 of the gym leaders off the top of my head. And 2 of them I only remember because I'm currently playing Pokemon Masters and I have those gym leaders, so I'm reminded that they exist. You know? So. I don't, other than Cynthia, I cannot tell you one thing about the Elite Four or the Champion. Yeah, Cynthia was Sinnoh because Alder was Unova. I don't like Dawn or the other character, I don't even know his fucking name, as the main characters. You know, the professor is entirely forgettable. I just, there's nothing, fucking Team Galactic, is it? It just, there's nothing about Sinnoh that jumps out to me and says, hey, this is worth space in your brain. You know? It's just not there. I mean, to me, Team Galactic is very, very low-budget Team Rocket to me. You know, they look stupid. They're basically, it seems like they're basically doing Team Rocket shtick. And I know they're slightly different, but that's how it basically seems. Like, oh, we're Pokemon gangsters kind of thing, and we're gonna erase the world or some shit instead of conquering it. You know, at least Team Aqua and Team Magma had a goal. Team Plasma pretended to have a goal. The Aether Foundation had a thing. Team Flare was dumb, but you knew what they were about, you know. Team Yell was weird, but they had their own thing going on, you know what I mean? Team Skull had a thing. The fucking, yeah, like I said, the Aether Foundations, but Team Galactic, I can't even. But I'm hoping that these games, because I'm going to own them both, whether I like it or not, that these games are the ones that at least get me to finish a Sinnoh thing. And I'm probably going to go back and try, again, to watch the Team 4-Star playthrough. Maybe this time it'll click. Probably it won't. As I understand it, even Team 4-Star hated that playthrough. And it's rather notable that they didn't even attempt to schedule another Nuzlocke after that one. I think the Sinnoh game kind of tainted their taste for it. And I know a lot of them aren't necessarily fans of Unova either, but they genuinely seem to not have a good time when they were playing Sinnoh. From what I've heard behind the scenes, that was not a fun playthrough for them. That was kind of like trying to get through the BoJack movie when they were trying to script it for DBZA, and they just decided, no, we can't do this. To my knowledge, they at least finished it, but they didn't seem to want to. And I know there are people who Sinnoh is their favorite, and I don't know why. I'd like to know why. I'd like to be in on it, you know, but it's just kind of not there for me as a person. But we'll see when these come out what it does for me. Because I intend to reserve those. I intend to reserve. I gotta reserve Snap again. I intend to reserve. There's a word. Legends. You know, I'll get all the Pokemon games. I have no problem doing that. It's just, God, I really hope this works out. The Sinnoh games. I promise I'm not still particularly hung about the unemployment thing, although that I also hope resolves itself soon in a favorable way. But I don't like the idea that there's an entire region of the game that I just do not give a shit about. But there is. And I'm hoping that this game turns that around for me, that suddenly I don't necessarily have to love Sinnoh, but I'll settle for it being Johto for me, because I appreciate the Johto games for what they are, but I do not have the hard-on for Johto that everyone else does. It's okay, but it's not mind-blowing to me. I'm not like, oh god, I have to play Silver and Pearl, or Silver and Heart Gold and Soul Silver and all that shit. No. It's there. It's one of my... I think Gold and Silver are my second... Let's just call them Johto. I think Johto is my second least favorite behind Sinnoh. But the difference is, I at least can enjoy Johto. I can't enjoy Sinnoh. If I had to rank them, just to fill up these last couple minutes... Let's go bottom to top. We got Sinnoh, we got Johto. I'm gonna say Hoenn. Too much water. I'm sorry. Kanto. Probably because I'm sick of it. I've done so much Kanto. Then we'll say Galar, Alola, Kalos. Unova I'm not putting on the list. I might have already put it on the list, but I'm not putting it on the list because I haven't actually played it. And look at that, I've run out the clock. See you next week, hopefully with better news. Bye-bye, everybody.